Wherever you are. Hey, I am glad to be back on here. I wanted to come on, and like every time, I like to do a interview recap. And I just had an interview with Stephen Quesinberry. He works for AE Logic. He's also a multifamily investor, also a former military officer, U.S. Army officer. Let's get it right. So he and I got a good chunk of time to talk today, and we just discussed. There we go. We discussed multifamily and a couple other things. So I wanted to go back over a few notes that I took during the interview that I wanted to basically key you guys in on so that you can kind of, when you go back and watch the interview on the YouTube, as well as it's on my Facebook page as well, you can take some of the information that you learned from there and hopefully put something to work. And one of the things that Stephen talked about was becoming an LP. And in multifamily, an LP is what's known as a limited partner. And basically a limited partner is someone who is a part of the deal, but as the name says, to a limited sense. So let's say you have 50K to invest, you invest your 50K, but you don't have a say-so on the day-to-day actions or what's happening with that particular property when it comes to that multifamily property. So that's what a limited partner is. But what's interesting is Stephen talked quite a bit about the conversation that happens between the limited partner and the GP, and then how that affected him when it comes to how he decides to invest. There's a bunch of myths that are out there. One being that you can over communicate. You can get on people's nerves when it comes to being a GP, talking to people who are looking to be LPs, sending them something every week, sending something every other weekend. In that conversation, I realized, and just with that discussion with Stephen, that he said it was less about how often, more about how much. So instead of sending those week-to-week emails, I'm going to send an email today, I'm going to send an email tomorrow, whatever it might be. It's interesting when people take that time and they put all the information in big chunks and give it to them once a month. Hey, this is your report once a month. Hey, this is your report once a month. In the military, when you're in a part of a unit, we have what's called yearly training briefs, and we have commander update briefs. And these happen maybe once every other week, maybe even once a month, depending on the commander and depending on the unit that you're working with. And what happens is you go in there and the boss the commander has a certain level of questions that he wants to ask. He wants to ask how many people, how are they doing with their medical? How are they doing with their physical fitness? How are they doing with their family? How are they doing with their qualification things? All these things they'll want to be updated on. And that's the big chunk. They hit it, they get the information, they take it and they run with it. Because on their side, they have to report to the next hire. So the same principle kind of lies when it comes to reporting to the LPs. For the GPs, that higher power is that particular rental property, that multifamily property. So after they get they put that feedback into the LPs. The LPs, okay, got it. Thank you. We want to know this, and this, whatever. Now the GP goes back and has to implement those things into what he or she's doing, of course, to a limit, depending on how they feel and what their thought processes are. And they have to bring it back to the LPs. Hey, this is what happened. This is what's going on. This is the next step. This is where we're going. So the LPs constantly feel in a comfortable position because, just as Stephen said during the interview, you have to want to create that relationship and keep people coming back. It's always about, and in any business that I've learned or heard of so far, it's always about customer service in some form or fashion. You're doing almost 2 or 3 things consistently. You're dealing with the finances, you're doing customer service, and you're doing some kind of branding or marketing. Every business, because you have to. There's no business that exists that you can't do that for, or that you don't do that for. Because if you don't market, nobody's going to know that you exist. If you don't handle your finances, you're going to disappear. And if you don't, I forgot what the third one was. I blanked out on the third one. Whatever. But if you don't do at minimum those 2, you're going to disappear. It just is what it is. So that was something that I took from that interview. Another piece that I took from his interview was when he talked about just that discipline and knowing what he wanted to go after. What you'll find in any real estate investing is that those, when you first start, you kind of want to go after everything. You want to go after all of it. You want to go and get everything that you can. You want to go and buy the single. You want to go and buy the multi, whatever it is. But you have to remember to stick to your set of rules. You have to remember to stick to your comfort zone. If you have $50K to invest, don't invest $70K. If you have $1,000 to invest, don't invest $3,000. The best way that I've had it put to me in those terms is that don't invest what you're not comfortable in losing. It's that simple. It's like in all entrepreneurship, it's almost like gambling with a little bit less risk. Quite a bit less risk, to be honest. You put your money in where you think it's going to grow and where you have the most assurances that you can get your hands on that money is going to grow. You're not going to go and put your money on the street in a tin can because it's highly likely somebody's going to walk across that tin can, pick it up, and walk off into the great distance. No, you take that money, you put it into the bank, or you put it into the stocks, or you put it into Bitcoin, or you put it into whatever, and that money is, the intent is for that money to grow. But again, it's less risk. There's still risk there, but it's less risk than taking it and putting it in a tin can in the middle of the street. So those are two of my big things. I've got to go. I want to go play the cash flow game with my wife today. That should be fun. So anyway, y'all have a great evening. Remember, you're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. Please make sure you stick around and check out the YouTube. You can check me out at The Oliver Perry on YouTube. You can also check me on IG at The Oliver Perry. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, The Oliver Perry, and I'm on TikTok as well. The Oliver Perry 38. You'll see some stuff there. I cannot tell you I'm super consistent because I'm not on there that often, but I am getting better, slowly but surely. But mainly YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn are the places you'll see me the most. And you can, of course, hit me on IG as well. I do see that stuff. So hopefully you're having a good evening. Hopefully you have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. I'll see you next time.